and welcome back to Now TV Canada, and I am just on YouTube channel. I am your host, just Jen, or Jen, aka Superwoman, the creator of the character Superwoman, which the world has still yet to completely discover and get all the answers to who, where, what, how, all that other stuff about her and her story. Um, anyway, I'm just trying to sort of share my thoughts between what happened yesterday and what's going on today with everyone. I can't pre-record stuff because this laptop is full and my desktop's in Vancouver and I cut off Wi-Fi in that apartment. So I'm stuck going off the gigs on my phone and I have trouble connecting. So if people wonder why I do so many lives, it's simply because I need to get it done. I also need to keep the channel active, and there needs to be new stuff. And I just want to show people who I am in bits and pieces, talk about what's going on now and talk about me now, and connect those reflections. There's always changes coming. So again, Now TV will change once more. There'll be more of a focus on what I'm going to use the channel for. And that's where all of my focus on God and my faith as a Christian comes from. The Highway of Tears, the research on the missing and murdered, the serial killers in Canada, the constant finding of dead bodies, but no arrests ever made. How long it takes to find a killer and put them behind bars. And the fact that we don't sentence them to death. And that there are people that are re-released after committing murders, and they get jobs and go back to working. And that they're slapped on the back of the hand with being saying, oh, don't go near your only remaining child or whatever. It's just weird, wrong. And so what I want to do with Now TV, around that walk I took the other day where people saw that beautiful building where I could foresee the future of my company, security company, next to the National Defense, in a Steven Seagal or Jean-Claude Van Damme or Sylvester Stallone movie or partnership. Well, in real life, it's not too far from the fiction in my head. I want to use Now TV to talk about these crimes specifically. I had done videos at the end of last year already, and I connected Justin's time in office. I connected his father's history to terrible laws that were not changed until the end of his time in office, to show how impossible it is for women and children. And this would have included him growing up in his father's home, which would have explained why his brother got arrested smoking pot. Not just about being young and trying to be cool. So I'm going to try to talk about these crimes because the best thing to do with dealing with the devil is to talk about him all of the time. The more you talk about the things that he's guilty of, being the one responsible for finding ways to trigger people or set them off to do these things, the more he'll flee from that environment, because the more popular he is and the more people will know about it, and the more people will be aware and then protect themselves, their loved ones, and be more alert of their surroundings. So that's the idea with the beginning of what I started doing with the Now channel before I left. I'll also give like scriptural talks and practice the stuff I'm doing. That said, my education. So slowly but surely over the 4 years behind me now, I have been taking online courses through Christian Leaders Institute based out of Michigan to get my degree of some kind. And through BYU Pathways, I can take all the credits and rainbow myself a bridge across, and get a BYU Pathways BA that is 3 years. But I've already done 4 years of collecting credits, so past that. But their BA, usually at BYU or most schools, if a person's got good grades, they get done in 4 years instead of 5. But I'm old and I'm old school, and doing stuff online, that's different. It's new for me. That said, I've signed up for 2 institute classes through the BYU Pathways because they're worth 2 credits, 14 weeks long. One is about forgiveness. And what is the other one called? It's Foundations of the Restoration. So it's the body of Christ. It's the key of all keys, all about Jesus. I'm studying deliberately just because I love to read. And the more you read, the more you practice, the better you are. From the Old Testament student manual, because I have to say one thing about this church is that their school books, their study material is just outstanding. It is awesome. I don't care where you come from in the Christian order. It doesn't matter to me what denomination. You can't go wrong with using this church's material. These books you're gonna learn stuff from it. So I just intend to read it all. So my connection with the Old Testament is simply because of Jehovah God and Jesus Christ and my testimony and the fact that I can give one about the separation of the two. The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, the God of old. The focus of the Old Testament is having people understand who Jesus was in heaven before he came to earth and how long he was up there sitting next to God and what they were doing. So that's where focusing on the course of forgiveness and the restoration falls into place for me in what I'm trying to learn how to do. Right? Because it all comes down to the question of how do you view the future, right? Will our world stay the same, get worse, or get better based on where we're at right now? And lucky for me, I have access to all kinds of wonderful other Bibles and stuff. And I am working on reading the Bible in Living English because I have devoured the New World Translation, outgrown the copy I was raised with. I have a big one of an old one of original copy that was published like in 1968 or something, before I was ever born. And I don't like watching the body of Christ suffer because people won't grow or change because pride gets in the way. Now, I want an education. And the Jehovah's Witnesses don't have an education system. You don't take courses. You don't graduate in anything. You don't get certified. In fact, when I was a kid, they discouraged it. They didn't even encourage people to go to post-secondary school. Just get your grade 12 and then go to service, whatever. Donate everything you have. Come join the Bethel family. Learn to play music and do art and make videos and never get paid. Cook and clean and change beds, whatever. And then be dependent on the organization and the people. And really, that doesn't reflect the true God at all. That's not who he is. That's not his personality. We don't have to be submissive to men. We don't have to listen to men. We don't have to take being bossed around or told what to do or how to practice our horseback riding lessons, when, where, how, or who with, or whatever. We're allowed to get an education and earn more money than them. We have the right to be treated as equals. We're allowed to wear pants and flat shoes, and we don't have to wear fancy makeup and have fancy hair and expensive purses. We don't have to drive expensive cars and have expensive houses and pay high mortgages. There's a lot of things that can be done to improve on the organization. And pride is one of them. Slovenly, like no exercise, no going to the gym. The other thing I love about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they get education, they become athletes, they do their best. There's movies and stories about these kids going as far as the Olympics throughout that last 7 generation of history. Even though the organization of the Witnesses and Russell Taze was the first person to do the 4 2-hour photo dramas, the first movies that had sound and color, while Charlie Chaplin and all those other people around him were racing for the ability to put sound in with their black and white and so on, they got beat by God. God did it because God's in charge of everything. It's all his. And so God has allowed people to show the difference between the two sides because he's a forgiving God, compassionate God, kind God. What it's like to be a good father and how far he's willing to let his children go, grow and learn. And there have been specific people that have made it to the Olympics as athletes and do things like that puppet girl that was on the America's Got Talent and won the $1 million. She could sing incredibly well and still do ventriloquism with a puppet. And the organization, they don't pursue or encourage this kind of stuff. I saw two different people in two different places during my summer, sort of slouching around, crouching around, blah, blah, and they're overweight, out of shape, kind of old, just sitting there, self-focused and talking to themselves in their little group. And I'm like, and you wonder why people get upset and they're feeling mad and they're having conflicts with their emotions and thoughts. And when it comes to the name and the use of God's name, right? Nobody owns God's name. Nobody owns the right to Jehovah. Jehovah is for everyone. He's a person that's omnipotent, right? He's the Alpha and Omega. We can all pray to God and use his name. We can use that name and should not feel fear in saying that name. You don't need to say that name and somehow think that somebody's automatically going to connect you to the people that like say to everybody, don't have fun doing anything. Right? Don't give good gifts. Don't enjoy your birth. Don't do blood transfusions. Don't do transplants. Don't dress up in costumes. Don't watch scary movies or read scary books. It's just a long list of don'ts. And so there's not much that's left that you can do in this lifetime. When man fell and sin prevailed, did you think God was not going to allow us to enjoy ourselves and use our imagination and creativity? I bless that God immensely because I was born in 1975. Jehovah allowed me to learn from what I was watching in the movies and TV. He didn't stop me from watching the Jason movies or the Freddy Krueger movies or Poltergeist. Right? He didn't stop me from listening to AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Black Sabbath. He never said no. He just monitored what I was learning, what I was doing, what I was growing. He was monitoring my damage control, right? Because I was suffering lots of pain. Things were going on and there was no help, right? And there still is a lack of help. That's why so many are dying. If you don't know what you're doing with medications and you're giving medications to people that are trying to numb their pain and suffering, and they can't help themselves, and of course there's going to be tragedy. They're going to die. But when I got to an age where I had learned enough from watching black and white TV and seen enough movies and enough cable and read enough books, I had realized, okay, I'm done. I've gained the information I need to know to be the producer, the director, the writer, the actress, and the Christian I want to be. So then I went to work starting to write all this stuff. And so I'm realizing that if I'm just trying to reach people in the regular Hollywood industry, I could wait forever to try to get somebody from that side to join me or help me or work with me or acknowledge me, talk about me and my work. So I'm going to stay focused on the Christian parts of the industry because the majority of what I've written, a lot of it can be proofread, edited, formatted, published, produced, and starred in by people that are Christians. I mean, you can be from a non-denominational church. You can be a pastor. You can just be working in this industry. You could be in Utah. You can be in Europe and work for Future Productions and enjoy this industry and get paid. My biggest thing that I want to share about today is that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are doing their best to provide for every member and to help outside of that around the world when and where they can through their Just Serve program, Storehouse, and other options. We are missing out on housing issues. We don't provide enough of that for our members. We don't build enough. We don't build little communities where we can live together and live peacefully like lots of other cultures do when they move to different countries where they are stronger together within themselves, because they have nothing in common with us and we have nothing in common with them, and therefore there's no socializing, and so it's kind of a way of surviving. But hopefully that will change in the future when we learn to harness that solar power, that privilege of what it could benefit us with. But they hire their own church members to work and teach at the schools, to clean the churches, to cut the lawns, to build buildings. We employ ourselves. And one of the good things, best things, is that they don't claim to own anything. They give it all to Jesus. They give it all to God. They named the bank that they started a long time ago the Bank of Zion. And that's essentially what Joseph Smith was trying to do from the beginning when it all first started. He was trying to become the president of the United States. He had big visions, right? Oh, let's make paradise right here, right now. Let it start today. He was excited and had lots of passion. And that's my connection to what happened to me with my overnight camping, my 1 week camping plans, and all the food and stuff I packed. I was so gung-ho because I wanted to do this thing, and I wanted to do it now so quickly because it's been so long since I had it. And Jesus just crushed me. He just pulled that rug out from under my feet, let me fall on my butt, and slowed me down, because that's the point of the harvest. That's the point of the body of Christ. No, we're not going to be there today, because there are still people to reach with the gospel. There is still a harvest to do, and you have learning to still do. I have to finish my education. And the same thing happened with Joseph, with the speed of his brain and his desire and all that he wanted to do. But what he was doing was trying to start a bank and storehouses and stuff, taking care of people. They used to harvest their own food, grow their own foods and stuff. And we should never have stopped some of those things. And so the church is not against helping more and more people succeed in the industries that they're trained in with their education, like movies, like books, like journalism careers, or working in politics in the background, working in courtrooms, or working for judges without being the judge, etc., etc., etc. Right? God's system was a monarchy. Man's system was freeman. And God warned people that the political system made by man wasn't going to work, but that his system, monarch-wise, where he ordains and he oils and he baptizes with Holy Spirit and gives counselors through church and through priesthoods, was the only way that everything was ever going to work. And it's still the answer today. And so maybe Joseph needed to slow down a little bit and realize that if he wasn't ordained or authorized through priesthood that way by God, having his head oiled or whatever, and having a counselor from God to help provide information when he was falling short, then he wouldn't have been so gung-ho like I was with my camping. So what I learned from this is that Jesus, like, oh, go slower, pack less, just go up to Lac Phillip for the day. And so that first bus today is supposed to be leaving at 9:20. And then after I got up and ate this morning, it slowed me down again. And it made me realize that it's Sunday. And since I'm not attending a meeting somewhere, I still have to do my studies, right? I have to maintain my regular routine of what I do. And I'm just showing you guys little fractions and segments of what goes on in my regular life. So you can see the testimony that I'm giving to you about what helps keep me strong and maintains my life, keeps me grounded, and keeps me on a safe path. The eye of the needle, that little narrow bridge, it's not literally a needle that Jesus was talking about, to which a camel could not fit through. But as long as I'm doing these things and he blesses this, as long as I'm always remembering them first, and I do this stuff right, then I can get on the second bus at 11:20 and go spend the rest of my afternoon, because today I have my matches and my compass and all that I need to cook up what I'm going to make when I'm up there, and reduce what I'm making. Less pressure, less stress, because I won't be there overnight, so I don't need as much stuff. It's not as confusing. So I've slowed down and repacked my bag and only went with what I need for the day. And I guess that was the point of yesterday when I got confused and unpacked stuff, because I'm like, oh, well, it's not a 1 week camping trip now because the stuff I was trying to do with the health card didn't go right. And then I took this out of the bag. And when I came home yesterday, I still could not ever find my Q-tips special package with my 5-minute long burning candles and my brick of the fire starter stuff. Completely gone. I don't know where my short-term memory put it all, but I tore the house apart and I went to bed so upset because I never did find it. And when you buy stuff and you want to use it and you're excited to, and it's the first time stuff and it's sort of new, you're excited. But I have enough stuff that I'll still be able to, cook beans and sausage and make unleavened bread, aka bannock, cover it in sugar, whatever. It's still going to be a good afternoon. But I wanted to show people that just because I'm not in attendance at a church doesn't mean that I'm not practicing. I am, because your body's your temple, your home and your secret place is the same thing as going to a meeting house. Whether you're alone and with the Holy Spirit or have the helper here and Jesus with you, or the heavenly hosts that are with Jesus, you're not alone. So don't ever forget that no matter how out of place you might feel because of the mixed knowledge or mixed background you might have from where you're from and to where you are and what you're trying to understand and where you're going, if you are really seeking the truth, if you're seeking the answers, just keep trying, stay vigilant, stay loyal, stay faithful, stay sincere, and keep praying and reading and studying. Don't be afraid to discover new material. Don't be afraid to read beyond, right? I am working on still reading the little Talmage book that I had found. What a gift this was. I want to correct it. I want to put things in here correctly with Jehovah's name and the message of Jesus. And I am looking forward to devouring a marvelous work and a wonder, because I love the church's books. And that's a problem with the Jehovah's Witnesses, is that they don't pay each other to use their skills. They don't pay each other to write books. They don't pay each other to teach anything. They don't pay each other to be security guards, run their own companies and hire their own security staff, do dramatizations, perform musically in public, sing. They don't audition for any TV shows where they can win money. And they don't have an education system that allows them to hire themselves to keep the system growing, to create a future that is just like the kind of promise that the Bible tries to foretell and teach us over and over again is what it's going to be like with Jesus reigning over the earth forever. And that these temples are symbols of God's promise that they're going to be there forever, and that it will eventually wipe away wickedness. Wickedness will be no more, and that there will be truth and goodness throughout the earth. But the earth itself, if people watch David Attenborough and all of these valuable scientists that do historic and accurate research on how long the planet's been here, you know that the planet itself has been here for 4 billion years. You know it's been through 4 different cycles, and that God's had to recreate, to fine-tune, making it safe for human existence and to make perfect creatures. And if you think that God was up there alone by himself for 4 billion years doing all this stuff scientifically and mathematically all by himself, with no one else to go over it with, then you couldn't be more wrong. That's absurd that you think he would be night and day at the same time, right? It's clear Jesus is the light, right? Even amidst the darkness, when we live in a world where we have a sun and people are still in the dark, right? He is the light. Right? God gives us the soul. God gave Jesus the soul. Things in heaven between God and Jesus were fine until the devil existed, until he was created, until his job was made, until he was needed for a job he didn't think was good enough, and he wanted more, to climb higher and be bigger, which in turn required a bunch of angels so God could fight back and protect the people he loves when we got to earth. But the point is, Jesus was up there next to God as a separate being, a separate entity, separate person, as his firstborn, one and only son, who got along with his father, who coincided with his thoughts and beliefs and never argued. And they worked together on building this planet we now live on and making it good enough for humans to be on it. There's no confusion over the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. That was Jehovah God. Jesus came to earth to fix what happened after Satan's existence came into the world, when he thought he could climb higher than God, atop his head, and top that guy. And never mind, Jesus, I'm better looking. He actually had a pretty good job in heaven. Like, he was a conductor of a choir, a musician. He was gifted. How could that gift and that job and his good looks as an angel in heaven not be satisfactory enough? How could it not be good enough? How could you not be happy with that job? So when he got catapulted out of heaven, the joke is that he was, crash landed right into the choir loft. And now we have all these multicultural versions of Christian denominations making a mess of everything. And so now people are having trouble reading and studying and trying to understand and swim their way through it all to finding the accuracy and the truth and the knowledge that we all need to bring both sides of the veil together. Henceforth, all of God's true children, to which he's going to love and save, to live in this future paradise on earth, to which Jesus told me to sit down and slow down yesterday and just learn to go to the park for one day at a time and get my stuff done in between. It occurred to me that he was telling me that school's back. The registration for the Institute class, the deadline for this year, it's tomorrow, it starts. So I had to register the last few days. And the class is like Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I literally could not disappear for a week or two without Wi-Fi, because everything's all being done online. And I have to learn to adjust to this online world when I'm so used to just taking off and, disconnecting, and I can just get lost in books. The education system today doesn't work like that. And I will not graduate if I do not learn to make sure I'm online and in class on time. So if there's still time for me to keep learning and graduating, and for my youngest daughter to graduate high school and find her way to post-secondary education through a Christian institute of her choice, which I pray is BYU Pathways, because they have outstanding music program. You get through school so fast, you get a BA in 3 years instead of 4 or 5. And that my oldest also graduates from the University of Winnipeg, as she's put herself back into school at 28. And that the three of us will be able to celebrate that Cats in the Cradle theme of a song where my girls have turned out just like me. So I'm going to go on the 11 o'clock bus and spend the rest of my afternoon, because I will have met my accomplishments today about doing my studies from here, so I can enjoy cooking out there and making videos of what it's like out there, and maybe going for a swim for a second day, so I can prep for my trip to Gatineau Park and be prepared for classes online and whatever's to come in the process of graduating my path in university and learning to teach about forgiveness and the restoration, right? Teaching truth and helping people find the information that they all need to know. There is no such thing as a 2.0. There's a lot of 4.0s out there that think they're 2.0 because they're getting A's. But I'm still saying that there's always that one thing on the test that everybody's getting wrong. And they sit in the classroom in big, large groups trying to figure out how come they're all getting the same question wrong. And then the one or two people that get it right don't think about it. They don't look back. They put their sheets down on the desk and they know they're right, and they leave the room. And they don't try to stand around, talk to people, or put stuff up on the board and try to explain it, because they don't have to. They're not obligated. And so that's what's happening in the world, no matter how frustrating that might seem to be. We're not obligated. You can chase us down and ask us, but we don't have to. It's not a voluntary position. But I'm still hoping that I'll be able to explain my situation, and how it feels to feel like Joseph Smith, but today in the 21st century, even though I didn't start on his side, um, and trying to figure out how to bridge the rainbow gap, bringing together the information that I am lucky enough to have because God's blessed me with holding back until the time was right to give to the right generation of people so we can fix this, so God can keep his promise and give that forgiveness to those he wants to give it to, um, and create that future paradise on earth for those that desire to live on this earth with him and share in that work forever. Because at the end of the day, we are not all going back to heaven, as salt into an open wound that might sound or feel. We came from there. God has made it clear in the Bible that there's 144,000 chosen people that will work with Jesus, and that Jesus will oversee the world as the king for this new world we're in. But essentially, we're all going to be resurrected down here, judged down here, and the new world will be something we have to work on fixing up and saving and moving forward with together, working together in unity. So that's what I'm hoping I'll be able to do throughout all of this. But in the meantime, I'm still going to talk about my movie writing stuff that's outside of religion, because you can still have fun and have a good time and enjoy your life and the things that you were given as gifts by God to do. And of course, to talk about crime, until we can stop crime. Less of it, find more people that need to be arrested, and find answers to bodies that are found where no arrests are made, or just even find bodies to give closures to families that have never been given any, so that there can be peace for the loss of life where the blood cries out to God from the ground. It's cursed. It's terrible. And so, yeah, like this all towards the same thing, right? For me. And we're going to just do everything we can, to try and make, fiction stories out of true facts, that helps us all rethink about what we want for a future in this life, on this earth, for us, for our children, our children's children, and our children's children's children, and what we need to do to take the right steps to make sure that it's safe for us to have these children, and have those children, because that's what God warned everybody about. A big woe to the pregnant one during the winter time. Slow down until we fix these things, until we seek God for counsel on these things. Stop having so many, because these crimes are still happening rampantly, and we want to stop giving our children and ourselves, to these rampant events, random attacks or whatever, and end up being sacrifices and dead anyway, or filling those prison systems till they're on overflow, right? So it all really does fit together pretty well into the box, like of this screen. So that's my thing. I did repack for today. I'm good to go. That was just my message for Sunday. I'm going to go do my reading now, and I'll see everybody all out at Lac Phillip on the other end. You might see some video clips of me at the bus stop, getting on the bus and sort of filling in what I didn't get right yesterday because I was upset that the day went wrong. God bless you guys. Have a good Sunday. Yeah, be well, pray, eat with your family. Stay warm, stay well, stay safe. Peace out, everyone. Superwoman signing out from Now TV Canada and Gatineau, Quebec. Bye.